definitely don't be afraid to take risks. Um, like Asian parents, it's very understandable. They want the best for us, but also think about they probably weren't very confident with themselves too. So that's going to bring them to their kids. But like it shouldn't be that way. Anyone should be confident to do what they want to do. They everyone has a dream. There's a reason for us to live. It's not just from our parents' wishes, and obviously we did not choose to live, but we exist now. Like we should able to do something. Like we can't take life for granted.
This is the Asian Rebel Club podcast, a space for the ones who grew up chasing approval and are now learning how to be free. I am Crystal Ren, entrepreneur, creative, and recovering achievement addict. Each week, we dive into honest conversations with Asian rebels, rewriting what success, identity, and freedom really mean. If you're ready to live your story, not somebody else, welcome home. In this community voice episode of Asian Rebel Club, we will hear from two rebels, Ben from Boston and Nini from India, who both grew up under heavy cultural expectations and made the brave choice to live differently. Ben shares what it was like growing up between Western openness and Asian silence, and what it cost him to finally choose himself over family expectations.
My name is Ben. I came from a typical Chinese American family, and I grown up in a very Western community. It was like a all white community, and it was definitely an interesting life and understanding that because when I was in college, I moved to a bigger Asian community. I met even more people, so I felt comfortable. But I also felt out of place at the same time because when I when I grew up in a very big Western community, I still built a standard over there. I still felt comfortable in my own way over there. So then when I moved to a Asian community, it was still very different to me. It was, of course, the cultures were very different. And to make it very brief, between the Western and the Asian communities, privacy is such a big difference. The Western communities, they're very open. They like to talk about, even upon meeting somebody, they'll say like, "Oh, I had a divorce," or "I broke up with somebody." They'll openly talk about it, and they won't feel ashamed. It's just in their culture. And like the Asian community, we don't talk about relationship almost at all sometimes. So I find that very interesting. Like, that's just an example. Like there's so many different things that I've learned upon my own community, and like even I would say like the Western community, I have a high influence of. So that's why I'm openly to talk about I guess the dark side of both ends, that like of the Asian
Right.
and the Western community. Your type of project has really intrigued me. It's a very interesting topic and what you came up with.
I'm curious, how did that influence you over time? It sounds like you actually moved toward a more westernized version of yourself because you needed to survive in a more westernized environment. But when you moved into a more Asian community, it must have felt so different. Even though people look similar to you, they thought differently. So my first question is, did you feel pressure to fit in again? Like when you moved into the Asian community, did it feel like you had to readapt, even though you were already carrying a different identity by then? How did you deal with that?
Um, when I grew up in the back at home until I was around 18, I guess up until that time I really wanted to fit in everybody, so I got into rock music. I still love it to this day. And so I have that in common with them. And as I said, like sharing about relationship statuses or something like that, like, oh, I'm talking to this girl, or like, oh, we broke up or something like that. I openly talk about stuff like that. I'm really used to, like it's to fit in with that type of community. And like in the Asian community, it's definitely different. Like when I share stuff like that, they'll think I'm weird. Like it's like, oh, I didn't know we were friends like that. Like it would take a few years to know somebody to in order to know about
Yeah.
like that they even had a girlfriend or they're going to propose to somebody. So that type of level of privacy.
How'd you cope with it?
Well, but it's pretty much around there. I understand, like, okay, I can't be too open to talk about this.
Yeah.
It's not just relationship too. Like, it's about like, oh, I found this job that I went to apply. I don't know if I'll get it or something like that. We usually talk about it if we already found it, if we work for the company already. You know what I mean? Like we don't talk about like, oh, I'm going to apply for this company for this job, and like I'm not sure if I made sense.
So, do you think there's a level of like just crossing that to where like a level of competition, right? If you were to tell people like I'm about to do this, right? You kind of know they're not going to support it because they're going to see that as a threat.
Yes, yes. Oh, okay. No, that's another thing too. Like I didn't even think about this. Like it's being competitive too. Like no one in the Western community, they're not very competitive. They actually encourage each other to. It's like, oh, this job did not take me, but you should apply. I want you to do it. They like to encourage each other, and they don't think that other person is better. They just want them to be better.
So, I think what you're trying to say is that it seems like everyone is more comfortable with who they are. Even if they don't get what they're aiming for, they don't take it personally. Like they don't see it as a reflection of their worth. It's not like if you get it first, then I lose. Instead, they might think, maybe this just isn't for me. Maybe it's for you. Whereas in other cultures, there can be more of a scarcity mindset. Like if someone else succeeds, it means there's less for me. It becomes more competitive and people take it personally if they don't get what they want.
Yeah, actually, you put it to much better. I didn't even really think about that subject specifically, but that makes a lot of sense. Now that you mention it, you actually made me realize that that like in the Asian community, it's pretty competitive.
So here's my question for you. Do you think the Western community still has competitiveness in them? It's manifesting differently.
No, they can. It might be 50-50 for the culture. Like it's like if I want to be a drummer as a famous drummer or something like that, then I probably would be. But like if I'm just a casual I am a casual drummer, and I would tell people to apply here. Then yeah, it I guess it's how they view themselves, you know. And maybe in the Asian culture, like they want to be better than everybody. Like they want to
Yeah.
be the best.
I'm not sure if it's a lack of self awareness or maybe something else, but it's like if someone thinks another person is better than them at something, it threatens how they see themselves. Instead of being able to say, okay, that's just not who I am, it becomes personal. Like their sense of self worth is tied to being good at everything. I think this is one of the topics I'm really interested in. People who are purely Asian or purely Western often have a more straightforward experience in terms of identity. But when you have to constantly switch between different communities, it forces you to question a lot of things that others might never even think about. So curious, like, so what resonated in terms of the message of the Asian Rebel Club?
I just understand the toxicities of the Asian culture, and I went through a lot of therapy, like mental health therapy, to study within myself that obviously connects to my Asian roots.
Right.
My mom is still from Guangzhou, China. So of course, like she carried a lot of the culture to me. It's different to me, and like because it's so opposite from the Western culture too, where I grew up in, like I felt I had such a dramatic experience on both cultures. My mom still doesn't speak English that well, so and as I said, like it's just I have a strong culture on both ends, and and trying to put it together, it was really hard as a child or as a teenager, and it's still hard as an adult to think about this now. I don't even remember how many posts I made about my experience with my mother, like well my parents, and and my siblings as well. I have two brothers and two sisters, so like there's a lot of clashes between us to think about all of our cultures too. Like we're all very different, and we have the same upbringing. So, and like, but we still have a very dramatically different perspective. So that's why it's just very interesting to understand everybody's like viewpoints, and like just how we view ourselves, or to like the opposite communities of Western and Asian cultures. We have such a different viewpoint on everything. Like some of us think our mom is the person we owe our lives to, and then some of us also doesn't think the same way. That includes me.
Right.
That's just one of the basics. Some of us went to a university, some of us didn't. Uh, Like our viewpoints are dramatically different. We didn't really hang out with each other either, believe it or not. Like we would just argue. It was very built on stubbornness. Like that includes myself too. We never communicate our feelings to understand. Actually, this might be a good something good to bring up. Like as an adult now, this happened a few years ago. So like when I was around 30, like I tried to bring up like let's talk about it, but some of them don't want to talk about it at all. It could be just that in the Asian culture that it's not very expressive, you know? Like they only want to look mad, they don't want to express feelings. Like that's a very common Asian trait, you know? In Western culture, they do talk about feelings.
So I'm like a full Chinese, but I kind of struggle to understand that because I'm like, if you hold everything in, how could you expect something to be better? What kind of relationship do you want to build? If you don't want to communicate, right? Like there's no depth to it.
Yeah, it's that I'm very certain that's very common in the Asian community.
It's funny, like from what I've seen in Asia, especially with Chinese and Singaporean culture, there's definitely that whole face thing, right? Like people usually say the right things, the things that make them look good. Everything sounds super appropriate, but underneath there's all this guilt or inner conflict going on. And because you're not really supposed to show your shadows, people just kind of bottle it up. And then in Chinese culture specifically, I've noticed that even though people are a lot more expressive, the way they deal with it is by like yelling at each other. So technically they're communicating, but it's super messy. Like it's not clean emotional communication. It's just kind of screaming and reacting.
Right. Yeah. You do understand the aspects of it, but I'm very certain it's common, at least in my family, that we would have a big fight. We would yell at each other all night, and then the next day, we won't talk to each other for a few days, and then we eventually will. We won't bring up the subject again. We'll just talk. Um, I'm very certain that's common.
That's so funny because that gets unaddressed, right? Like everybody just holds grudges and resentment. And what kind of solution is that?
That's still going on with my family today. Like, yeah, it's always going to be cut there. The grudge is always going to be there, unless maybe 10 years after it happens, or maybe even 20. I don't know. But some of them I haven't even talked to in about 5 years. But I'm very certain that's common. There's plenty of people like me who hasn't talked to their parents
Right.
too. Like I still talk to my mom, but not so much. Like I mean, some other siblings. It's sad at first, but it's also what I learned in therapy that like you accept that they will always be like this, and like I don't always want to see them be this way. I want them to understand how I feel, but my impression is that like they will never accept how I feel. Like they just say like no, only listen to me, uh, type of thing.
Mm,
So
mm.
it's what I don't tolerate. I wish them well. I hope they're okay, you know. I hope they live long and get rich, but I don't want to talk to them.
So, how do you actually deal with the guilt that comes up around that, especially in communities where, and I'm saying this because I'm kind of going through it too, there's this belief like, well, they're your family, you're supposed to just accept them, even if the dynamic's not really healthy. And then there's this other part of you that's like, but if I keep doing that, I'm kind of abandoning myself. So, yeah, how do you walk that line?
Yeah, I'm very glad you asked that. Before I decide to cut contact, like if I don't want to speak with them anymore, I tell them I gave them a chance to fix everything because I asked them, do you want to talk? Or
Right.
just, you know, if they say no, there's nothing to talk about, then that's my answer that they don't want to talk ever again. And they had the chance
Yeah.
to, they had the chance to keep speaking with me. I offered them for so long. So, like, there's no reason for me to contact them, but I still want them to do well.
So tell me the moment you realized that you had to rebel and what did you feel in your body at the time?
I think I was in college around 23 years old.
Yeah.
So my mother wanted me to be smart, very common Asian standard for a mother to their son. They want them to be smart, everything like that. So like when I talk to a lot of professors, and one of them noticed that I love to talk to exchange students. So he said like you should do a study abroad somewhere. And one of the options was Hong Kong. I speak Cantonese a little bit, and so I thought that's a great place to start. And my mom said, no, you're going to get robbed. Some people are going to steal from you. So I believed her and I stayed. And then maybe a few years later or something, she brought up someone I know, like another Asian family or something, someone around my age. He's like, oh my, let's say his name is Robert. So like Robert, oh my God, Robert is going to Switzerland or somewhere in Europe to study abroad. And I'm just like, I said I want to study abroad or something like that, but she didn't listen to me. She's just like, shut up, you know. She didn't care. She's like, Robert is doing so well, going to Switzerland, you know, like, oh, he's going to be very smart. After that, like it was. Yeah, it was very ironic. She talked about good for other sons, you know, so I don't know if she talked good about me. And I hear a lot of experience from my friends, the Western friends, and like just people traveling. She thinks highly of them, but never for me. She's not confident in me. Of course, like it destroyed my confidence. From around that time is like when I didn't care anymore. Like, okay, so I hope there's no judgment. I mean, we're rebellious anyways, I guess. So I guess like the next few years, I just didn't listen to her anymore. I started traveling without telling her. My very first country I went to was South Korea. Like I decided to go there, and I went to around the U.S. like West Coast and like Florida too, like without telling her. So of course she gets really mad. She's like, Why didn't you tell me?" And I just like, I'm 25 years old. I don't need to tell you stuff like that.
What I've heard is that sometimes it's not even about not wanting to tell her things. It's more about knowing that, like, you're not really safe with her emotionally. Like, instead of getting the kind of positivity or support you'd expect from a mom, you're probably going to get compared to other people or judged or made to feel not good enough. So it's almost like, why even open up if you know it's not going to land in a safe place?
Yeah, that's very accurate. Yeah, that you say that. I never heard her say like, yeah, you should go. Like this is a better opportunity. To this day, like I went to over 10 countries and like I went through all the US. She never asked me how it was or like what I liked it or why did I go. She didn't even ask anything, you know? So I still love her, but like it just doesn't prove that she looks forward to see that I'm willing to expand my horizons. It was heartbreaking. I still went to Hong Kong, like not as a student. I still went there for a vacation, and like and when I told her, her reaction was to buy a lot of gifts so I can bring it to my extended family. She didn't even say like, oh, like I told you not to go. She didn't even say that. She didn't say like, oh, I'm so happy. She just bought gifts like, here, give this to auntie. It's not good or bad. She just completely changed the subject like from good or bad. So that's why I was like, now you're not telling me anything. Not You're not telling me if you're happy or you're mad. Like it's like you completely blocking the emotion, like how you feel why I'm going. So around that point, there's no reason to even think about her feelings at this point if she's not even going to express it. I'm proudly very westernized, like in many ways that like I had friends' parents who were supportive of me more than my own parents, you know, and they don't know me, and you know, I found that weird at first, but then I realize now it's just like yeah, they're supportive of anybody, like it's just for them. Yeah, yeah, like you know, like definitely don't be afraid to take risks, um like Asian parents, it's very understandable. They want the best for us, but they probably weren't very confident with themselves too. So that's going to bring them to their kids. But like it shouldn't be that way. Anyone should be confident to do what they want to do. Everyone has a dream. There's a reason for us to live. It's not just from our parents' wishes, and obviously we did not choose to live. But we exist now. Like we should able to do something. Like we can't take life for granted. So like that's what I always think about.
Next up, Nini takes us through her story of surviving a life-changing accident, questioning the dreams others had forced on her, and finding her path beyond grades, careers, and timelines.
I'm actually a photographer and a project manager at a tech company. I was born in Calcutta, but my parents actually, my dad is from UP, India, and my mom is from Bhutan, Thimphu. So, two cultures decided to, have a love story.
So you said that you were hospitalized, you were going
Yes, I
through.
was.
Yeah, yeah. Was that your rebel moment? Could you tell me the story a bit? Because, obviously you
Okay.
only said that to me.
So, in India, what we have is when one reaches in class 10 or 12, we are supposed to score above 90% or 95%, and that will decide like which school you have to go or which stream. And I had 83%, or I would say, after that, the aggregate of the subjects, it was calculated to 70%. Then one school said that you go in arts, science is not for you. Then my dad was like, you have to take science. Then I got admission in a different school, but there I kept on failing my classes. I wasn't getting admission in any of the science related colleges.
So the first question is, how come your dad wanted you to go to engineering school when you clearly like art, right?
He's actually working in a government post, so all of his friends have daughters and sons who have very good, studied well, who have very good careers. Now they are married and all. So he wanted me to at least go there, and then after that at least make something of myself. He
Mm,
wasn't able to do that because he was from a very poor family, so he built everything himself. So he was like forcing all his dreams, like whatever it was, on me. After that it came to a point where I was like, I don't think I can do this. And there was one last exam. It was a very important exam, so that one I was studying for at least 6 to 10 months. Then one fine day when I was crossing the road, and then I got hit by a taxi, and then after that for 8 months I was actually hospitalized with a jaw surgery and injuries on my face and all hands. So I was basically in the hospital for 3 months, and I was like, what was the point of studying when you don't even know like you're going to be alive tomorrow, or anything can happen. Maybe the exam could have been postponed, or I could have been disqualified also from going to the exam if I was late or something. Anything
right,
could have happened.
right.
When I was taking one walk around the hospital, then I saw an elderly lady, and I think she was suffering from cancer, and she was going through lots of series of chemos, therapies, and all medicines. She had a very good smile on her face. I still could remember it. And she was the one who said that you need to take a break from everything, find out yourself, even if you're not married now, or even if you're still going again to a college, figure yourself out. Because during that time when I was in the hospital, I had missed at least 2 years of college.
Right.
And while everyone was graduated, I was doing, after getting hospitalized, I was doing my first year. I got admission in
Mm,
one college, community
mm,
college.
mm,
So
mm.
by 2021, I had passed out from one college, and by that time, everyone had jobs and all, and
Right.
everyone was creating.
Right. And I guess like what did that make you feel, going through that accident
Yeah,
and
I was feeling bad because they were more successful and all, but then after listening to that old lady's advice, whenever I'm feeling bad, I just remind myself of the what the old lady had said to me. Like
hmm,
everyone has different lengths of life. Maybe right now you couldn't have an amazing business, or you couldn't meet the person you love. Maybe after a few years you could meet them by chance. The only thing we
right,
can do is like keep on relearning, developing ourselves, try different things, because you never
right,
know what can happen any day. Maybe you could
right,
that accident thing can happen, or maybe you could have a health issue. She also said that what would you do if you were just given 2 months to live or a few days to live? Would you be doing that,
right,
or would you be doing the
right,
things like which you could remember at the last moment?
right. I know that the old ladies were was a pivotal moment in your journey, and how
Yeah.
do you think that affect your relationship with what your parents' expectation of you and how you want to live your life going forward?
My parents were a bit disappointed when like I wasn't able to go to science college or the job which I couldn't do. But I said that my sister is already my sister also was supposed to go for science, but she went for arts, and then she's running her own fashion business. I just said
Hmm,
that it's not in my hands. I can't do anything because I don't have that much capability. And if I keep trying, I don't think I can do it. And my father was like, okay, it's very good you have been honest, but He's like, we were more worried about your health because, as a parent, they are always worried about the child most of the time.
Right,
They
right.
ultimately said, you do whatever you want, but make sure that you're successful in that and you're happy in it.
Tell me the moment when you realized that you had to rebel, and what did you feel in your body at the time?
In my body that time, how will I say? It was like my soul actually was trying to get out of the thing. It didn't want it to stay trapped with the expectations, unrealistic expectations from your friends, from your family, from your relatives, and the people around
Right,
you who will make
right.
what will other people think. I was just pretty done with it. That's what I would say. I would say I had angry moments. I was very angry. Like my parents made me go through a lot. And then after that, I had also like, why couldn't I do that time? If again I was maybe 22 or 23 or 25, I could have at least passed out through science or done something. And, the thinking which was like, in Hindi, there's a thinking called log kya kahenge, like what will people think? It means
Yes,
like what
yes,
was
yeah.
I was thinking because after 5-10 years, no one is going to think about anything because
Right,
eventually
exactly.
everyone is going to get old and they will be more worried about their health and all. That is what
Right,
I think.
right, right. And how did you get out of that thinking mode? Be like, what are people going to think of me? How did you get out of that?
I would say it's very difficult for me because that's sometimes I still think that what will people think, but then I remind myself 5 years from now they are not going to say anything because they're eventually they are more worried about themselves, and
Right.
in the end of the day they don't care.
I think in Asian culture, the success is really two things, right? Like for guys, it's like, how much you make and
Yeah,
how much status you have, how big is your title. And for women, it seems like meaning,
to be a perfect mother,
perfect mom, perfect kid, maybe
perfect
marrying
wife.
to a perfect wife, and also maybe like marrying to a guy who, is of high status, right?
I don't think I agree with these things. I mean, it's okay like to have be a good wife and all, but I think the meaning of woman is more than that. Like she can be rather than being a wife or a fiance or a perfect mother and all, she's more than that. She's fun. She has her own goals. She has her own character and she has her own ambitions and all. Like she is herself. She has her own identity. And
Right. And
deducing that it's someone's wife or just someone's mother, is straying away from her own identity. And aside from being someone's wife, you're also a perfect. How do I say? You also have an individual identity of yourself.
the first thing I ever thought about in my mind about myself, I never thought that's a wife, right? Just because I think that it's something that other people give it to you. It's your legal status. It doesn't mean that is you, right? Like what you are, who you are, should be identified by you. Everything that you think that you are would not likely change with the life circumstances, right? So even if you get a divorce or the job doesn't work out, your character cannot be taken away from you, and your personality and the value you want to create to the world, like those things can be taken away from you, and you can
Yeah,
always
no matter
rebuild
what that.
yourself, no matter
Yeah.
what. Yeah, so I think that's more important, and because
Yeah,
anybody can
absolutely.
be a wife, right? Like I can be a wife, you can be a wife. If you're a woman, or man, so, they change their gender. They can be a wife, right? That doesn't have any substance, right? But what kind of person you want to be, that is very
That
substantial.
is more
So
important.
yeah, that's more important. It's very similar like, in the Chinese culture or Indian culture, like in a collective culture. It seems like they care more about the checklist. Like, okay, you have done this, you have done that. But how you feel in the checklist, or whether that's your checklist or not, is not necessarily important. What is one tiny victory you've had ever since you chose yourself?
I would say I'm more at peace without having any other people's expectations, like, having some duties to fulfill and disappointing them and being
Okay.
afraid and then having anxieties or then going to therapy.
So what would you tell your past self?
Uh, I would tell if the my past self was 19 or 20, I would say that she anything is possible these days, and even if she gets stuck anywhere in the past or she's not able to figure out, things will eventually work out. There's always a way, even
Right.
if you don't see it now, but God God is always there to make things work out. If one solution is not working out, then three, four solutions is working out. Having
Yeah.
a backup plan.
Yeah, yeah. So, last question is, if listeners were to take one thing away from your story, what should that be?
I'd say life is all about, whatever the choices you make, you should be happy and you should, means like, no, not regret it. Like, you chose it, and even if it doesn't work out, you at least know, like, you can tell your future niece, nephew, kids, you can tell them, or the coming generations, that at least you were not disappointed. Like, even if it didn't work out, and you could tell a story about it. That's what I think.
If this conversation sparked something in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you are building a more true life, not just more impressive, we would love to hear your story. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Asian Rebel Club and join our newsletter for more ways to connect. Link in the description. Until next time.